Hey, what is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. Alright, y'all. Now, a highly requested video, especially after the performance of my most recent video with Kate Spade and Robin Williams, is the video for Anthony Bourdain. Now, a lot of these people, just the way I told y'all in the last video about Kate Spade and Robin Williams, I've briefly touched on in the past. I know I just got a lot of new subscribers to this channel. For those that are not aware, I do have another channel here on YouTube as well. But I know I've gotten a lot of new subs, thousands of new subs. So I've also never done a video on Anthony Bourdain, just, dedicated to him. They would just come up in videos and, I would briefly discuss their deaths. In light of that video doing so well and people requesting to do a video about Anthony Bourdain, I figured why not? We go ahead and tackle this video, go down the rabbit hole of his death as it basically relates to Kate Spade and the other 11 that have all died the exact same way, in what we previously discussed in that video, Wicked Sacrifices, right? Anthony Bourdain's death, sacrifice, it's very interesting as well. The way that he chose to live his life as a young man and the way that he discussed, death so much and actually unaliving himself so much, you would think that this was something, natural, that this was something that he just out of nowhere at 61 years old decided to go ahead and do. Which brings another thing, to discuss. We don't do these videos to, I guess not have any sympathy or not recognizing that this is actually a real thing in real life. Of course, people unaliving themselves is a very real thing. Depression is a real thing. Trauma and, all kinds of things that make people go over the edge and eventually end it. It's a real thing. But I think sometimes some of you forget what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with Hollywood. We're dealing with the occult. We're dealing with rituals. We're dealing with the harvest of energy on levels that we cannot see and that are done by entities, spirits and demons that we cannot see. People who worship these entities that we cannot see. So I think, a lot of times y'all got to remember, who these people have made pacts with, the decisions that they made to be where they are in life. And sometimes that will, maybe remind you that this is not all just natural stuff. A lot of this stuff is a lot more sinister than you may be aware of. So with that being said, y'all, we'll kick it off in the same fashion as the last video. We'll jump into a news clip or two about Anthony Bourdain's death, and then we'll come back and go into detail more about his sacrifice. So with that being said, y'all, check this out.
Every time he'd walk off set, I'd always shout at him as he was walking off. I'd say, in my next life, I'm coming back as Anthony Bourdain. And I wonder, is that why it's maybe so hard to process this today?
We obviously have been reporting all this week on the suicide of Kate Spade, now Anthony Bourdain.
Of course, this news comes just as we're still in shock over the death of Kate Spade.
Heartbreaking and devastating. World-renowned chef, best-selling author, award-winning host of Parts Unknown, and our friend, Anthony Bourdain, has died. The last 5 years on CNN, Tony traveled the globe doing what he loved most, uncovering little-known places, exploring food, and celebrating life and diverse cultures. Let us tell you what we know so far this morning about this. Our senior media correspondent, Brian Stelter, host of Reliable Sources, joins us. Brian, what have we learned?
Anthony was found dead this morning in his hotel room in France. He had hung himself in his hotel room. According to CNN, he was on a shoot for an upcoming season of his acclaimed series, Parts Unknown. Of course, Anthony's been with us here at CNN for 5 years, a beloved member of the CNN family, and really one of the faces of this network. He helped change CNN when he took a risk coming here in 2013. And along the way, his series, Parts Unknown, has won almost every award possible. He loved producing this series, traveling the globe, talking with people about life and love and death. Of course, his show was essentially, technically about cooking, about culture, but really it was about the human condition. It was about exploring what makes us all tick. And I think that is one of the many reasons why he was so beloved here. What we do know is that he was found dead this morning in his hotel room. We have little information other than that. He was 61 years old.
Brian, this is so devastating, and it is going to come as a shock and devastate to so many people, not just our CNN family, of course, obviously his own family, and obviously all of the viewers. I mean, I can't tell you how often, I'm sure we've all had it, around the world, wherever we are, people always ask me about Anthony Bourdain. It's so resonated, his message and what he was doing out there and how he was using food as a vehicle to talk about life and cultures. People loved him, and they loved that show. Is there any more? I mean, I just interviewed him. The idea, and he was just, it seemed, his usual self when he came in to talk about his new season of Parts Unknown. Is there any more information about what happened or why?
Sadly, no. We know that his friend found him in his hotel room.
Now, if we go back to 2018, it gets really wicked, y'all. I don't know if a lot of people realize how many people died from 2018 to 2020. You know, we could almost say it started with Kate Spade. You know, she was our last video, and it ended with Kobe Bryant in 2020. I mean, there were a lot of people who clocked out in those 2 years. From Kate Spade to Anthony Bourdain, as you all may know, Kate Spade died June 5th, 2018. And just 3 days later, Anthony Bourdain died June 8th, 2018. He was 6 years older than Kate Spade. He also died 3 days later than Kate Spade. That is pretty wild. And now what makes this, even more wicked, I guess if you want to talk about industries, Anthony Bourdain came from, a completely different industry than Kate Spade. We're talking about fashion, and, we're talking about the food industry, culinary arts. Now, I think about 9 days after Anthony Bourdain died, an artist you all may know about, XXXTentacion. He died June 18th, 2018. That's basically, his death was, the numerology is basically 666 on his death. 6th month of the year, 18 breaks down to 3 sixes, 2018. And I've done extensive videos on him. If y'all want to check those videos out, I can leave everything in the description of this video. It's also pretty simple. Just scroll down my videos and you'll see, it's very wicked information about his death as well. And the rituals that he did to get famous, the goddess Hecate that he worshipped, Baphomet worship with him, so on and so on. It was obvious with XXX as far as what he got himself into. Now, my point of bringing this segment into this video is so we can realize energy harvest. I think that is very important, and it's sometimes overlooked when we discuss these topics and we discuss sacrifices, because obviously the devil collects in threes. We know the devil collects in threes. Kate Spade, Bourdain, XXX, in threes, right? But you have to think about how much energy is harvested on a level that we cannot see. A lot of people don't think about that, y'all. This is just another point that must be made aware. People are not walking around when their favorite artist die, or, someone from the fashion industry. They're not thinking about how much these demonic entities and, these gods and the Baphomet that these people worship and pledge allegiance to, they're not thinking about how much energy they are harvesting doing these rituals. Think about it. Fans of Kate Spade, fans of Anthony Bourdain, fans of young XXX at that time. This guy had millions of kids in the chokehold. Super fans. Anthony Bourdain, super fans. Kate Spade, she's probably less of the three as far as just, fans galore. But think about the energy that they harvest doing these ritual sacrifices. Rather you want to believe they're dead or not. Because a lot of people question if these people are even dead or if they're somewhere, playing another role or wearing someone else's face, But think about that. On a scale that we cannot see, touch, nor feel, energy gets harvested by these deaths and the emotions that people feel. It's just like how people go through a range of all kind of emotions at a football game, at a basketball game, inside of a stadium that harnessed energy and keeps that energy there, in that dome. Think about it. It's the same way when your favorite artist is killed at like the peak of his career. They're killed at the peak of their career most of the time. It's done on purpose. And it's to harvest this energy, y'all. These demonic spirits, entities, they want your energy. They want your soul. They want what you are made up of. And if they can't directly get it, they're going to get it from your emotions. They're going to get it from your actions. Especially when you're sad and, angry about your favorite actor, favorite artist dying. So think about all three of these people dying just within 2 weeks of each other. What that did for those entities. And if we stay just in the year 2018 alone, Mac Miller died just 3 months later. That's more energy to harvest to these rituals. Just 3 months later, y'all. And in 2021, it was another year of huge energy harvesting rituals. Michael K. Williams from the, film industry, DMX, they all died in the same year. Kobe was 2020. Y'all, they were on Sports Center broadcasting like reactions to his death. Kobe, like half the world was sad, y'all. You can only imagine the amount of energy that was harvested to those demons. So look, I had to come in and just talk about that real quick. We could go down that rabbit hole on another video, but I just thought that was important because all three of them died within a very close time frame, and that's important to talk about as well. All right, y'all, so as I always like to do, we're going to go ahead and go into this article about Anthony Bourdain's death, and then we're going to use the back half of this video to talk about Michael Hutchence as well, because yes, I did pay attention to a lot of the comments, so I thought we should talk about him as well. I noticed something very, very similar to the way, like the pattern that led up to Anthony Bourdain's death and David Carradine. I seen some of y'all trying to like correct me and stuff, saying it's not Carradine, who cares? This is why I always talk about patterns. It's almost like they just run with the same script. They're tired of, giving us the news in different ways. They're just like, look, nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna dig into this stuff. Even the people that do, 85% of the world outweighs them so much, it doesn't matter. Anyways, right? So on June 18, 2018, Anthony Bourdain was found dead of an apparent unalive at his hotel in France. Not even gonna attempt to say that stuff. His body was discovered by a fellow chef, Eric Rippert, who had been filming an episode of Bourdain's travel show, Parts Unknown. Now, I also found it pretty odd going back to that CNN clip that the two guys had on all black and the woman basically had on a shade of red. Like how they color code in the media when they talk about deaths and, to us, sacrifices. It took me back to that picture of Rick Owens and his wife when he was with the Migos. They all had on black and the woman had on a red dress. You know, I just pay attention to stuff like that. To me, you know, it all symbolizes what is actually going on, you know, as far as this industry stuff and sacrifices. He was discovered by his fellow chef. Ripper became concerned when Bourdain missed dinner the night before and breakfast that morning. If y'all remember, David Carradine, same thing. They said he missed dinner the night before. Go check it out. Go look it up. I could pull the article back up as well. They said he missed dinner and he was found the next morning. You know, just like how they always say, you know, someone always finds, you know, these people there. It's never they were with a person and committed suicide. You know, like it's never they were with someone and unalived themselves, or, you know, it's always someone walked in and found them, you know. Whether it's a overdose or, you know, someone unaliving themselves. Weird, right? But I noticed the same exact pattern. Leading up to both of their deaths. It was the same as the ones before. It was an unalive by hanging himself. Now, none of the articles specifically say it was a doorknob, you know, but, you know, we can pretty much see what is going on with Anthony Bourdain's death as well. All right, y'all, so now I'm going to use this time to go into the death of Michael Hutchence.
The rock star Michael Hutchence has been found dead at a hotel in Sydney. A short time ago, police confirmed he hanged himself. Hutchence, singer and partner of the television presenter Paula Yates, was in Australia for a series of anniversary concerts with his group, In Excess.
Crowds have been gathering at the luxury Ritz-Carlton Hotel in the exclusive Doubleday suburb of Sydney since midday local time, when the star's body is understood to have been found hanging. Michael Hutchence was a guest at the hotel and had arrived in Sydney earlier in the week in preparation for a series of concerts celebrating the rock band's 20th anniversary. Police are initially reporting that there are no suspicious circumstances.
The police and detectives are still in the room. They are treating it as a crime scene, which they would do with any suicide.
Hutchence was among a string of glamorous consorts seen on his arm. Others included the singer and former soap actress Kylie Minogue. But it was his relationship with broadcaster Paula Yates which generated the most interest, resulting as it did in the breakup of her 10-year marriage to Bob Geldof, with whom she had 3 children. After a well-publicised High Court agreement to separate, Yates and Hutchence swapped homes with Geldof and announced plans to marry this January. Last year, Paula Yates and Hutchence had a child, which they named Heavenly Hirani Tiger Lily. It's not yet clear whether Paula Yates has been fully informed about events in Sydney, and her whereabouts remain uncertain.
Now, to end this video, we'll read over the coroner's report on the death of Michael Hutchence. On the morning of November 22nd, 1997, a maid at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Sydney, Australia, reported that the guest in room 524 appeared to be dead. He registered as Mr. Murray River 4 days earlier, but his real identity was Michael Hutchence. It appeared that he unalived himself naked using a snakeskin belt and a doorknob. He was 37 years old. There is no suicide note. A toxicology report reported that alcohol, cocaine, codeine, Prozac, and Valium and other drugs were in Hutchence's blood and urine. Beyond that, though, we were left with nothing but speculation and rumors. The full coroner's report has been published, and this was back in 2017. So we'll go a little bit into it so we can find out how similar his death was to David Carradine's as well. At the time of his death, Hutchence was involved in a terrible custody dispute with his former partner. The night before he died, Hutchence had dinner with Kel Hutchence, his father. From 11 p.m. on the night of November 21st to 5 a.m. on the morning of November 22nd, he had plenty of drinks with a former girlfriend, Kim Wilson, and her then boyfriend, Andrew Rayment, at the hotel. At 9:54 a.m. on the morning of the 22nd, he spoke on the phone with another former girlfriend, Michael Bennett. Because he seemed to be so upset, Bennett went to the hotel to calm him down, but couldn't reach him by knocking on the door. or ringing the room. The maid found Hutchence at 11:50 a.m. that day. Now, the thing about his death and how it relates back to David Carradine is Hutchence was found naked, and they speculated that it was on accident because it was a kink. It was also a kink death. He was trying to pleasure himself, or him, the ex-girl, and her boyfriend were actually doing things in the middle of the night while they all were doing drugs, because that makes the most sense. If he was found naked, to the doorknob, and it looked as if, he had just got done having a wild night, you would only assume the last people he was with, are the ones that was participating in that wild night. Or at least this is the way that the media wanted to give us his death, his sacrifice. It was in the same ritualistic way as David Carradine's death. The stuff we're reading here is damn near the same thing, same way that he died. And it was, supposedly Carradine had the kink thing. Everybody knew it. He loved to pleasure himself very hard or have other women do it, so on and so on. He apparently hung himself with his own belt, and the buckle broke away, and his body was found kneeling on the floor and facing the door. It has been suggested that the death resulted from an act of a kink, that autoerotic stuff. However, there's no forensic or other evidence to substantiate this suggestion. I therefore discount that manner of death. But I've never looked much into the death of Michael Hutchence until y'all said something in the comments, and it didn't surprise me at all that it related back to the other deaths as well. Especially when I saw this picture of him. Now, obviously this pic would have been in the 90s, and they've been saluting to the one-eyed God who they worship, for forever. Back to the 27 Club, I'm sure even before that. I do a pretty good job in most of my videos to find a picture of the guy, or, to find a picture of the people that we're talking about doing the one-eye salute, so you know what they were a part of. This is no coincidence. This is no mistake. Just look at his face. This is him showing his allegiance. So this lets you know what he was a part of. And that goes back to what I said in the beginning of this video. Some people tend to forget what we are looking at here. These are not regular people. And I don't mean just because they were once celebrities or famous. They take vows, they make pacts with these entities that we would never, come across. We don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. They channel spirits. They participate in rituals. They participate in sex rituals, sex magic, all kind of things to invoke spirits. And you just never know what these people do behind closed doors, especially when it's involving drugs, things that open you up right away to the spirit world. And that's how I want to end this video. I'm not surprised at all that, it follows the same pattern, even though he died before a lot of these people we're talking about. Spade, Bourdain, he died before all of them. But it follows the same pattern. Even with the people that were taken out before him, that were, much bigger stars. So I think I'll wrap this video up here, y'all. I didn't want to make this video too long. Like I said, I really do appreciate the support. All the new subscribers. Y'all definitely show me a lot of love, man, and it's much appreciated. So y'all let me know, as always, anything y'all want to see on the channel in the future. I'll be sure to check out you guys' comments as much as I can. So with that being said, it's Black Balloon. and I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.